Oh my god, I have so many books. Hi little raindrops! Let's talk about the 15 books that I read this month of June. Okay, so the setup is a little bit different than usual. That is because I am back home for the summer before I go back to my university apartment for the next school year. So these are my bookshelves. You might recognize them from my my moving vlog that I am currently uploading. I might have to go to my mom's restaurant to upload it because the Wi-Fi there is much better than the Wi-Fi here. But anyways, I read 15 books in June, and 2 more here. We're gonna talk about them in no particular order. I'm just gonna go one book after the other. It's currently raining. Oh god, I love the rain. Okay, so grab some water or a drink or whatever, and let's talk about books. So the first book that I'm going to talk about, this is not the first book I read in June, but it is a book I read in June nonetheless. This is Before the Coffee Gets Cold by Toshikatsu Kawaguchi. This book, I'm not exactly sure what the genre is other than Japanese fiction or Japanese literature. So basically this book is about a cafe in Japan where there is one table, and at that table there's only one seat that if you sit there, you can travel in time, whether that be in the past or the future, you can. And basically, there's this one person at the cafe who can pour you a cup of coffee, and it's so cool. The steam of the coffee is actually what helps you travel in time, because you kind of like submerge yourself into the steam, and then you go back to the past or into the future. But then there are a bunch of rules, like you can't leave the seat, you can only meet people who were inside the cafe, and the most important part, you have to drink the entire cup of coffee before the coffee gets cold, or else something will happen. And this follows a bunch of different stories, but they are all interconnected, and they all have to do with traveling back and forth in time. And so they follow the lovers, the husband and wife, the sisters, and the mother and child. So there are 4 big chapters in this book, and all 4 focus on this one person who travels in time using the one seat. And I rated, how many stars did I rate this? I can't remember. I'm pretty sure I rated it 5 stars. I should have brought my iPad to see my ratings, but it's either 4 or 5. I will put the actual ratings up here just so that you know what's as accurate as possible. But this was a very, very interesting book. I have the second one a little bit higher, Tales from the Cafe, which talk about this, I believe. I might read it in July, I don't know. As you can see, I have a whole lot of books and I have not read all of them. So there are a lot of books that I do want to read. So that was that. Next, I guess we're going to talk about these 3 manga. I found this series just out of nowhere. I think I'd gone to chapters and I was just like browsing through the manga, and I wanted something nice and light because I usually read manga whenever I feel like I'm close to a slump, or whenever I just don't feel like reading a book that's too heavy. This is what I will go to. Something that's light and fluffy usually. And I found Lovesick Ellie by Fujimomo. And I got the first one, and I was reading it on a day that I was feeling a bit off. Like not like sick, but I was just, I don't know. I was really tired and not all that happy, I guess, on that day, and I was reading book 1 and I was just like, oh my gosh, this is so good. And I looked on the Indigo website and they had the next 3 books because there are only 4 that are published so far, so they had all of them. And I eat this stuff up, like I can read this in like less than half an hour. And so I just decided, let's get in the car, let's go buy the rest. And so I got them, and I read book 4 like on July 1st. So I didn't include it for this one, but I basically read them all like this. So I read Lovesick Ellie 1, 2, and 3. These are so good. Basically, Eriko, nicknamed Ellie, has like these fantasies, and she tweets them on Twitter about the most popular guy in school, and he turns out, like, you know, the popular guy in school, oh, he's so nice, he's kind to everyone, but he has like he's double faced or double-sided, I guess you could say. He's a really like grumpy type of attitude when he's with people he's close to. And then they get close, and I'm pretty sure he had a crush on Ellie like ever since he met her or even beforehand. And so their relationship is just so good. I rated all 3 of these 5 stars. They are absolutely amazing. I can't wait for volume 5 to come out. So good. I absolutely adored it. It made me so happy. Whenever I find a book or manga that literally just like takes my mind off of everything, I already know it's a 5 stars. So all 3 of these, they were successful to accomplish that task. Then next, another manga was Mint Chocolate by Mami Orikasa, and this was volume 4. I do have volume 5, but I haven't read it yet. I think I rated this 4 stars or 5, I'm not sure. But basically, Mint Chocolate is that the boy and girl used to have a crush on each other without the other one knowing, and he's a huge grump, so she thought he didn't like her. And they've just liked each other for so long, they haven't really done anything about it. And then their parents decide to marry. So it's kind of that whole thing. My boyfriend is the one that got me volume 1, and then I kind of just wanted to keep going with it because it was like kind of intriguing, and it's pretty cute. So I think it was either 4 or 5. And then another manga, because I read a lot in June. Blue Flag Volume 2. I have Volume 3. I can't wait to read it. This is probably one of my top ever manga series. This is so good. I talked about it in my May wrap-up because it's in May that I read Volume 1. It's so good. Basically, Taichi is like kind of falling for Futaba, and she's also falling for him, but then Futaba's best friend, she's also falling for Futaba, and then Taichi's best friend, he's falling for Taichi, and it's just like this. It's so good. Just get it. It's so good. 5 stars. I already know this was 5 stars, maybe even with exclamation points. I can't remember for sure, but so good. I can't wait to read volume 3. And then I know I'm so late to the game. I am so genuinely sorry. I finally read Heartstopper volume 1. I sprinted to the store after finishing it to get volume 2, and it's literally out of stock in every single bookstore. I don't know why. I know that it's on Amazon, but I always feel so guilty to buy books online because I always stack them, like put a bunch in my cart to get free shipping, and then it's just like so much money, and I see the amount and I'm just like, no, I'm supposed to be saving my money right now. So I will be asking for volume 2 for my birthday, which is August 24th. So hopefully I'll get it then, and if I don't, then cross my fingers that when I go back to my apartment in September, I can go to Chapters and maybe they'll finally have it in stock, because they have like ginormous amounts of volume 3 and 4, but they don't have any volume 2 whatsoever, so it's kind of a bummer. But I rated this 5 stars. It's so good. Nick and Charlie are so adorable. I adore them. I know this is going to be a top favorite. I am not watching the show until I finish reading the entire series. I can't. I need to read it first. Then next, I read My Killer Vacation by Tessa Bailey. I read this with one of my friends. We went book shopping together. I will put a picture because we posted on our Instagrams. I will also put her Instagram account up here so you can go check her out and give her a follow. This was so... It's Tessa Bailey. I love her. It's amazing. I will say though that I had a teeny tiny bit of a hard time with like the first 80 pages. My only issue is that it goes into like spice and sexual attraction and romance like this. And I don't have anything against insta-love. It's just not it's not for me. Like, it's not my favorite trope, it's not my favorite thing, but after page 80, once there's a bit more development, you know, once they get to know each other a little better, and then the attraction makes sense because it's not just like physical attraction, then it starts to get really, really good. And this is about a bounty hunter, Miles, and a second grade teacher, Taylor, about like Taylor goes to Cape Cod, and then there's a murder, and then she just, you know, she's obsessed with crime podcasts and she just wants to solve the murder. And the bounty hunter, Miles, is there to help out because he has a connection with a family member of the victim. And oh my god, it's really, really good, but only because of that first 80 pages that I had a bit of a hard time with. I rated it 4 stars, I think. If I were to read it again, I might give it a 4.5, but for now we're just gonna say 4. But I definitely recommend it. It's a super easy read, perfect for summer, and now I really want to go to Cape Cod. So I love it. I also love Tessa. She's amazing. She's hilarious. I love her with my entire heart. I have more of her books here, and I think I have a couple more somewhere else. But anyways, this was really, really good. Really recommend it if you're into like something that's short and easy to read, and if you like spice. This has it, and it has it early, like it doesn't make you wait forever. The next book that I read was A Proposal They Can't Refuse by Natalie Kanya. I'm not sure if I pronounced that right, but it has the little, I think that's how you say it. I'm not sure. If I said that wrong, I am sorry. But this book, I think I rated it 5 stars. This has a marriage of convenience, best friends to enemies, to friends, to lovers, forced proximity, they're neighbors. She's a chef and he's the owner of a distillery. Just getting over past traumas together, getting over heartbreak together. Such a good book. Their grandfathers are the ones that kind of force them to get married. It will make you cry because there is something that is pretty sad in there. Because Liam's granddad has cancer and he doesn't have many months to live, and so like his dying wish, I know, sad, his dying wish is to see his grandson married and happy to her because he just knows they're meant to be together. And then Camilla's granddad, who is still, you know, he's alive and kicking by the end. I swear, the end made me cry more than the entire book. So you just have to get it and read the entire thing to get to the end and just see how good this is. I think this is Natalie's very first book. I'm not 100% sure, but I haven't read anything by her before. So I think this is her debut. Yeah, it is her debut novel. The food, the story, the connections, the tension, the banter, everything was so good. And there's a scene in here, if you don't want to know anything about this, just skip ahead a few seconds, but there's a scene where she's afraid of thunder and there's a thunderstorm and the lights go out and he goes inside the distillery where she still is and she just sprints at him and she jumps on him like a spider monkey type of thing. Twilight. And he's just, you know, calming her down, and then stuff happens. Anyways, 5 stars. I think there are exclamation points. I can't remember. I'm so sorry. But I will put it here. This was really, really good. And then I think this was like my last book of the month. Every Summer After by Carly Fortune. I've been seeing this everywhere. People have been just going insane over it, and there is a reason for that. This book was spectacular. I read it in 2 days. I love it so much. This is something that I will hold close to my heart forever and ever. This is a whole lot like Christina Lauren's Love in Other Words. It is a second chance romance. They basically, Persephone, or they also call her Percy, her parents buy a cottage somewhere in Ontario and they go there every summer, and so the boys next door, which happen to be Charlie and Sam, and Sam is the same age as Percy, and they become friends, and then best friends, and then a little bit more than best friends, and then something happens, and they just kind of split up, and then they meet again about 12 years later, if I'm not mistaken, because Sam's mom just passed away, and then they reconnect, and then there's some stuff that is revealed. This was insanely good. I gave it 5 stars with a bunch of exclamation points. Like I said, definitely one of my favorites. Perfect summer read. It was so great. There was humor. It was so funny. It was also sad. I was shocked. I mean, there was like the big reveal. I had anticipated it a little bit, but it was still like, oh my god, like that kind of plot twist that you can kind of like, you have a feeling like there are some hints towards the few pages before it's revealed, but then it's revealed and you're just like, oh my god, no way. And it's super happy ending. It's perfection. So good. And it's set in Canada because it's a Canadian author. And I'm Canadian, as many of you probably know, and it's just, I don't know, I really like reading books that are set in Canada because, like, they talk about Tim Hortons, they talk about toonies, they talk about, like, a double-double, right? I know that's, like, pretty stereotypical, but, oh, and maple syrup. Like, you know, I know it's stereotypical, but it makes me feel even more at home, and so I really, really appreciate that. So if you're Canadian, or if you're not Canadian, I really recommend this. Again, perfect summer read. Great to read by the beach, or great to read in your bed. Either way, it's great. And then I read For the Wolf by Hannah Whitten. I've had this book for about a year, and then I just decided to pick it up. This was spectacular. Okay, basically there's this story that the first daughter is for the throne, the second daughter is for the wolf. And the wolf is supposed to be like this really mean guy who's in the forest, and no one can go inside the forest or no one can exit the forest. The only person that can like go inside is the first daughter because she is, sorry, not the first daughter, the second daughter, because she is the sacrifice to keep like the beasts and monsters inside the forest so the people are not killed or harmed. But she ends up going in the forest and she meets the wolf, and he's this really tall, handsome man who is like tortured and like just so much past trauma, and they end up they become friends first and foremost, and then they become lovers. And it's just, oh my god. And there's a second book that came out in June that talks about the first daughter, who is Red's big sister, because a bunch of stuff happened to her and they basically become complete opposites, because Red kind of represents life, and then her sister, I can't remember her name. Oh no, I can't remember her name. Wait. Neve. Neve is Red's big sister. She represents death and bad by the end, which is crazy, right? Because I mean, it does make sense that Red, you know, she's the sacrifice to keep everyone alive, but, you know, sacrifice to die, because that's what they think. They think that the wolf eats her, but the wolf is basically just a human that is completely engulfed by the forest's powers, because the forest has powers. And it's so good. I will say, though, I think it was a little bit too long. There were maybe like it could have been cut short by 100 pages. Like, there are a good 100 pages that were just like them spending time in the forest, and there was not really any development. But if you can get over that part, it is such a good book. And he has a huge library and he loves reading, so that kind of just sold me right there. The minute I saw that he was a tall, handsome man in a library, I was just like, sign me up, I'm gonna finish this. So that's kind of what kept me through it. And I mean, they don't have it, like, it's not spicy, that is for sure. There is like romance. They share a couple of kisses and other stuff. But It's nothing like super heavy. It is a new adult fantasy, and I was able to get over the too much lengthiness to it, and I'm sure you can too. It is definitely worth it, and I'm super excited to read book number 2. I don't know where I put it. Where did I put it? Hold up. Wait a minute. Did I miss a box of books? I think this is... I put all my books away, and I just kept having a gut feeling that I didn't put all the books away, and I think this might just prove my idea correct, because I know I had this book. I know I brought it. Wait, I'm actually really curious now. Just wait 1 second, because I wanna... Oh wait, here? No? Oh! It's here. I was wrong. This is book number 2. Okay. Okay, sorry about that little interruption. I just got really curious. So, I'm not sure how many stars I rated this. Again, sorry, my brain is all over the place. I will put it up here, but I really did enjoy it, and I do really recommend it. You just gotta get ready to have like a book that's a little bit lengthy for like no reason, but otherwise the plot is really, really good, and I really recommend it. Next is The Grace Year by Kim Liggett. I was disappointed by this. I'm not gonna lie. It's just, again, this same idea of like a little bit too long. And also there was just this one character that I could not believe how dumb she was being, honestly. Like, that's just how I just could not. Literally could not. I was screaming at the top of my lungs every single time she said something. I could not. And she's like there almost like half of the book. Half of the book. And I guess this is a little spoiler. I'm not gonna say anything, but I will say that the end frustrated the hell out of me. Yeah, the end was good, but it still really frustrated me. There was some really good romance in there. I will say that. It was an enemies to lovers type of trope. Basically, this book is about how when girls turn 16, they are sent away for their grace year, which basically means that they go out in the forest in a kind of, like, there's an area that's all gated around, and they have to stay there to get rid of their magic. Because when they turn 16, aka when they are, when they become women, they are seen as these magical beings that are there to seduce men and, kill them or do some kind of really awful thing. So I have a feeling this was inspired by the Pandora's Box myth, because it is very similar to that one. I mean, obviously not the spitting image of Pandora, but pretty similar to it. I do agree that this was a good plot and a good idea. I just, it didn't do it for me. But, the last quarter of the book was really good. I will agree with that. But, I had a bit of an issue with this really annoying character. I just could not. I'm not really one for political type of stuff, and this did get a little bit political, and I was expecting actual magic, but it was all made up, and that just kind of irked me a little bit on the wrong side, because this is said to be a fantasy book. I think there was no fantasy in here. Like I said, it was all made up, but the end is very empowering, kind of, a little bit. So I say, I always say don't knock it till you try it. I know this book is a favorite for many people, It's just not exactly one of mine, but don't knock it till you try it. You don't necessarily have the same taste as me, and even if I recommend you books and you love them, doesn't mean that if I didn't like a book, you will not love it. So don't knock it till you try it. Give this a shot. Go in with an open mind. Just know that the start is rather, like, I don't even have words for it. It's just it's a very odd book. Again, I can't remember the rating for this. I think I gave it 4 stars just because the romantic interest made me giggle like a child. That was like pretty much the only really good thing about it. But other than that, it wasn't anything too like wow type thing, right? But again, don't knock it till you try it. Next, this was the very first book that I read in June. This was The No-Show by Beth O'Leary, and it was the book that I read with my book club, the Tabby's Annotating Book Club, a Rainy Days Library book club. I am the creator of this club, and this was our very, very first book. And oh my actual gosh, this is definitely on the top 5 of all the books I've read this year. A lot of my members, we had a meeting at the end of the month to discuss this, and we were all so in love with the book. We did, like, some of us had a bit of a hard time at first, but trust me, you want to read this and you want to get to the end. I don't care if you only enjoy the last, like, maybe 5 or 6 chapters, you have to keep reading. You have to. Basically, the story revolves around 3 women, Siobhan, Miranda, and Jane, who were all stood up by the same man on Valentine's Day. But there is so much more to the story, and I can't say anything because it's going to spoil the entire plot and the entire ending and the entire amazingness of this book. This is being made into a TV series, and it was only published in April of this year. Like, it is that good. It is that spectacular. Beth O'Leary never disappoints. I've read maybe 2 of her books, I think, so maybe I'm not qualified to have this opinion, but so good. They don't disappoint. I swear, this was spectacular. Get ready to cry, okay? I know this looks like a somewhat happy book. There are some really big emotions in here. Do check for trigger warnings because there is talk of, it's rather minor, but there is some talk of self-harm, anxiety, mental health issues. Just as with all books, always make sure to check the trigger warnings so that you feel comfortable whenever you're reading the book. But 5 stars and exclamation points. This I remember because I loved it so much. I will hold this close to my heart forever and ever. First off, because it was my first book club book, and we had so much fun talking about it and hating on the male character, and we all annotated it because that's the main purpose of my book club. It's the Tabbies, right? For tabs. It's the Tabby's Annotating Book Club, so it's to help people learn how to annotate as they read, but it's also for people who have been annotating for years to just get to talk about their annotations. And if you're wanting to join, unfortunately, I only have 30 spots and they're already all filled out, and I'm not accepting any more members. But I do have this kind of extension on Fable, not sponsored. That would be really cool though. But it's on Fable, and I usually put like some of my personal updates, and the book club members also have access to it, so they can go put their own updates. And if you want to tag along, you can just follow the book club on Fable and you'll see whenever we switch books, and you can also put your own updates, and then you can just like have a chat with people who have read the book or who are reaching the same point as you. It's super fun. It's super awesome. If you haven't been able to snatch a spot on the Tabby's like original book club, then you can follow along on Fable. And so this was the book that we read in June. I really, 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 really recommend it. It was spectacular. Beth definitely, she outdid herself. It was amazing. I loved it. The next book is If We Were Villains by ML Rio. Oh my actual gosh, TikTok did not lie about this. This was so good. 5 stars with exclamation points. So I'd had this book for a couple of months before I actually read it. And the only reason I read it is because me and my friend decided to do an annotated book swap, and she's more of a mystery and crime reader, I'm more of a romance reader. And so we chose this book because there is some romance in it. Obviously it's not the main plot because it revolves around a murder or a crime, I guess we could say. And so it kind of fit both of our interests, and it was so good! Oh my god, this revolves around 7 Shakespeare students. Spectacular. Absolutely spectacular. Okay, the plot twists, oh my god. The last page, when you read the last page, you will not believe that you are real, okay? Like, it's like utter complete shock. You're just gonna stare at it and be like, oh my god, what? And I had such a fun time annotating this. I really went all out. I even had I had one colored highlighter for every single character, and then I gave my copy to my friend, and she annotated in red pen, and then she gave me her copy and I annotated in red pen. So this is it's so great because we have both of our annotations in here now. Wait, I want to show you. She drew an ice cube because I was getting really riled up. And she said, here's an ice cube to calm you down. Is that it? Yeah. I was losing my mind. And she said, here's a picture of an ice cube to help cool you down. Like, I was just going insane. But this is so good. It's amazing if you're wanting, if you're a romance reader and you usually only stick to romance, like I used to, and you're trying to kind of explore different genres, this is a great start because it includes romance, but it's also an amazing crime and mystery book. And it's so well written. It's amazing. I loved it. I didn't think I would love it so much because, like I said, I usually have a hard time with books that are not principally romance. But this was so good. And then the last book, I read this when I was in Halifax for my trip. Well, I went to more than just the Van Gogh Expo, but I was invited to Beyond Van Gogh. I will put a picture here in Halifax. And this is the book that I was reading while I was there. Book Lovers by Emily Henry. I am pretty sure that I rated this 5 stars, but I think I might have to go back on that decision and rate it 4 stars. I'm not even sure if it is 5 or 4. The only reason for that is because I think it was a bit too long. So as many of you probably have heard, this is a pretty popular book. Emily Henry is a rather popular author. And so this book is about Nora and Charlie, and Charlie is an editor. Nora is, I'm not quite sure. I can't remember what her job title is exactly. I think she's some kind of literary agent or something like that. I can't recall, but she and Charlie work together for this one author. And so she goes to a very small town based on her author's book, and she goes there, and then somehow Charlie shows up and they start working together. They obviously fall for each other, and it's a small town romance with big town people, and I really loved that. I think my only issue is that it focused a bit too much on the fact that it was so focused on Nora's sister. I don't know. I think it was I hate saying this because I have not lived through that trauma, but Nora lost her mother, and she is very stuck on that, and she kind of lets it rule her life. And I have dealt with loss a few times, and I know it's not easy, but I do know that I didn't let it, take complete control of my life and how I lived my life. But I don't know, see, I know that they're fictional characters, But to me, like, when I read a book, they're real people. And so that's why I feel like I shouldn't be judging their experience with mourning and loss. But I do feel like it was a little bit too focused on that, if that makes sense. I do still recommend it, though. The romance is definitely worth it, but it is slow burn. And, like, really slow burn. And it's like the kind of situation where they kiss and then they're like, no, 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 we shouldn't have done that. And then they kiss again and they're like, no, 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 we shouldn't have done that. But the end is pretty good. I will say that. The end is pretty good. But I would have to say it's a 4-star read. But I still love it. I love Emily Henry. I loved Beach Read. I haven't read People We Meet on Vacation. I plan on reading it this month. I promise. If not this month, then in August at least. But this was just like, I don't know, it did meet the expectations, but it didn't like ring the bell. Does that make sense? Like, it's just, could have been shorter by at least 100 pages. Again, it kind of the same vibe as For the Wolf. There were just like some parts that were either too repetitive or, well, not like repetitive, but just like they were so stuck on this one thing and they just, like, I don't know, it kind of swallowed up the entire, how should I say this? The entire potential of the book. Does that make sense? I don't know. But I still enjoyed it. It was good, and I will put it back here since I am here, because that's my Emily Henry books, my Sally Thorne books, and my Helen Huang books. But those were all the 15 books that I read in June. This is gonna be another long video. I'm sorry. I tend to talk a lot. I did try to like control myself and not blurb too much about books in this video, but I mean, I didn't just read, like, I read kind of a lot of books, so of course it's gonna be a long video. But that is it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you got some book recs, and I hope that maybe I have convinced you to give a shot to some books. And that is it. It was nice to talk to you, and I will see you guys in the next one.